Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast called I Didn't Sign Up for This. And today we have Antoine.
Hello, hello.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited. So Antoine is going to kind of share a little bit of his life journey and the wisdoms of things that you've learned, right? And how God's been with you all along, even on times when you felt like you had it all and it was swept away. It was like a big, it's hard, right? Because in the world we see worldly things, but God sees things from a spiritual level, right? And he's always working for our good.
Yeah, amen to that.
So tell me a little bit, if you don't mind, just kind of give everybody kind of like a rough draft of kind of your life's journey, if you don't mind.
Right. So I'm Texas made, so Dallas born, Houston, San Antonio raised. So I've been in the great state and been around a few cities. So I love Texas. You know, I don't think I'd choose to live anywhere else, you know, if I had the opportunity, maybe a few states here and there. So that being said, I had the opportunity to go to the Air Force Academy and played basketball there and got to do a lot of different things and grow up and mature as a young leader and understanding how to navigate just politics and military and all the things that come with the nuances of being in a structured, militant, very, very intense environment pretty much every day.
Right.
So
I guess give like a 30-second synopsis. Like, what do you mean? Like, I would think that would be a top tier place to play ball. So
no, for sure. So yes, it's been a top school for the last 20 decades, right?
Okay.
So you have to get a congressional nomination, you have to get a senator nomination. So I was fortunate to get all of those. You have to be very astute academically. So I've read a book or two in my day. So I was, you know, blessed to keep that as a priority before sports and everything else. So yeah, it was definitely not an easy task, and it was not for the faint of heart. So it takes a lot to get in, and it takes even more to stay, and it takes another level to excel. So I was blessed and fortunate to have the ambition as well as the discipline required to succeed and graduate there with, I guess, with all the accolades and things that come with it by God's grace. So
by God's grace.
yes, it's like drinking from a fire hose, though. So it's a lot coming at you at one time.
It's funny.
At one time, for sure. So
when you graduated, what happens after you leave there? What happens in your life?
So you accrue a 5-year commitment. So for those that just go into the Air Force, for those that want to fly, whether it's helicopters, pilot, NASA, etc. Well, I guess now SpaceX or Elon, right? Because NASA's not really around the term itself. So that's a 12-year commitment for those that want to continue in the aviation world. So for me, I was fortunate enough to receive contracts from the Spurs and the Denver Nuggets. So San Antonio Spurs, Denver Nuggets wanted me to come and continue playing professionally. However, since David Robinson, who attended the Naval Academy and he was 7'1" and Hall of Famer, done all the things, there was a rule for athletes to defer their commitment for a few years and then go play and then come back and serve. However, we hadn't had that type of talent on the basketball side ever in Air Force Academy history. So I was a trailblazer in the sense that they didn't know what to do. There was no rule, there was no guidance, there was no packet or
structure.
Exactly. That would, or policy, for lack of better words, to tell me or get through the whole process. So it was very, very tough to not be able to continue on something that I've invested over my 10,000 hours to be an expert in, and less than 1% of collegiate players play in the NBA. I mean, I think it's even lower than that from childhood that want to make it to that level. And I was fortunate enough to make it. However, I wasn't able to continue.
How long did you get to play?
So they let me play for about a year. I guess it would be fair because I was with Denver all the way through the preseason, and then I got cut because I had to get cut because I was still serving with the Air Force, right? And then they let me go to the Development League, which is now the G League, for about a year. However, I couldn't get called up. So the goal of the G League is to develop and then get called up to the NBA, but I wasn't able to get called up. So I had some interest with Cleveland, the Clipper Kings, a slew of other teams. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to capitalize on that either. So
because you had the commitment to them.
Exactly. So I had to come back and serve.
Okay. So so you had contracts, couldn't take it.
Yes. Right.
And then the Lord was like, not today.
Oh,
not
man.
Today.
Yeah.
How did that feel? Really, truly, like
for sure. I mean, I was devastated. I mean, crushed. I mean, I was most likely in depression. I didn't really know it just because my faith had been so strong and because of my background and how I was raised. I was seeing the glass half full, right? That was just my mantra mentality. However, I think that was one of the most difficult times in my life because I had no why, and I've learned faith begins when understanding ends. And that's where I was, and I'm a very strong faith individual. However, it was rocky because I kept searching on, why would they do this to me? Why would I be lied to? Why would they tell me I could get something I couldn't get after I'd put in all the effort, the energy, the blood, sweat, and tears, doing all the things, sitting in the ice tub, taking care of my body, the rehab, just the whole gambit of responsibility, and to not be rewarded for that.
In the way you deep, in the way, and that, I'm going to correct you on that.
Right. No, exactly.
So we have to remember that we have this expectation, right? So you were like, okay, yeah, so this is going to be my reward. This is what I'm working for. God was like, that's not the reward. So
I think now it's still challenging. I mean, I have, I thank God that the bitterness has not taken root in my heart. I think there was a moment in time where it was definitely creeping up very, very aggressively because I was just angry, like almost every day, just very, very angry at the fact that, and the enemy loves to use other people, of course, right? In the same way God uses people, the enemy uses the same thing. So every day I'd have a commander or some military person in my face about, oh, look, yeah, see, I knew you'd never make it and this and that. So then it just, so then we're throwing gasoline on in fuego flame of myself. And I just, and that's something he's still working on me. Disrespect is just such a hard thing to swallow because it's rooted in pride. And, there's a lot of that flesh wants to get up and say, hey, look at me. And I've done all these things and I'm a great human and I should get this because I earned it and it's mine. And, and there's, at the end of the day, everything belongs to God. And I think that was the lesson that is still getting hammered into my spirit is that he owns it all. So what do we really own? Like he's blessed us with these gifts. Every good thing comes from above. We have all these talents and capabilities. However, it's for him. It was never for us. Right. So
when we walk in a posture of understanding that true leaders lift, they are looking for opportunities to come alongside, be the wind, right, under each other's wings, really.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, not to be corny about the song, but it's true. Like, be the wind. Really, we are supposed to lift up others to help build them up, and not to build them up in their ego, but to build them to come alongside and help walk out their best version of themselves.
I agree. And I think to piggyback off that, I think true love starts with empathy, but it always guides to accountability, right? Because accountability is just one of my favorite words because it breeds trust, communication, dependability, discipline. All those things come with that. So if I really love you, not that I won't empathize with your feelings, but I have to have compassion to love you enough to tell you, hey, we need to redirect or do this or do that, because that is what, true friends are. And one of my other favorite quotes that I live by is that I may not be able to control the wind, but I can learn how to fly a kite, So we're all kites. God is the wind. So we have to learn. And if we're humble to be poured into and just to swallow some of these insecurities that we all have, and learn from every experience and every person, whether it's someone with the podcast that is doing great things or it's the janitor in Walmart. You know what I mean? Like, you just never know who God can utilize. Or
that's one thing we kind of haven't tapped into, but like, you have a big family.
Yes.
So tell everybody, how big is your family? But nowadays it's big. Okay. A long time ago it was maybe a little.
This is average, right? So
yeah, this is average. Used to be average.
Right. People having 15, 16 kids is crazy. So, however, so I have seven kids, and it's a blessing because children are a blessing from God. However, parenting is not for the weak.
Good parenting.
It's not for the weak. And you have boys as well. And it's, people always say, oh, is it boys are harder than girls? This, that. I don't think so. I think having children is just a challenge in its own right, because my responsibility, there's just so many different phases, right? Like, when they're born, I'm just, don't kill yourself, right? Just protection mode. And now I have an almost 2-year-old, and I'm back in that just let's not die today. You know what I mean? Then on the other hand, I got a 21-year-old. It's like now I'm in your friend role, right? Like I'm only giving you advice if you ask, even though I know the path you're taking, it's probably not going to end well. However, it's not my place to step in, right? And that I think parenting adult children, and I'm sure you can attest this, is a little bit more challenging because they stop asking.
Yeah. It's beautiful to watch them bloom, but it's
Right.
also hard to watch them make a choice and you're like, "Okay, well, I don't understand where that choice came from because it didn't come from my room."
Right.
So
Exactly.
someone in your circle is helping you guide that choice, and we don't want them in the circle. So, right?
Exactly.
I mean, so there's this blend of it. Yeah. It's
Exactly.
easier when they're no longer under the roof, I have to say,
You think so?
because
Really? Okay.
yeah, I found both of my kids, I don't know. I guess we all just appreciate each other so much more.
I think there's some
Yeah.
validity to that too. But to your
Yeah.
point,
Once they move out, it's like I call my son and
right.
yeah, we can talk for an hour or
Oh,
two.
no, that's
And
beautiful.
it's beautiful
Yeah,
to
right.
when we really think about it, to be able to talk to a guy that long as your
Sure.
kid.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
such a
No,
gift.
I know.
Yeah.
I agree. And to your point,
It's
it
more
is
appreciation.
because I do have a 19-year-old daughter, and it's very fulfilling when she just comes and just talks, right? Like just kind
Yes.
of unloads. You're like, oh man, they still want to talk to me. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Boys are a little different on that too.
Yeah, right. A tad bit, right? So then it's like on the same side, it's the struggle too, right, between mom and dad because women are so enmeshed and like I want to save them and protect them, and then me as the dad, they're gonna be men, they're gonna be women, they got to get tougher, and then balance and harmony create rhythm and flow. So you gotta, I can't have too much investment because then they get soft from a male perspective. And same thing with the female, right? Then I can't loser proof my daughter if everything's a big deal. Like the emotions are real and women have a whole nother internal gamut of just how God made y'all that I will never understand. That's a daily lay down and pick up my cross to figure that out. However, you know, too much of that can be detrimental, just like too much of the strength can be detrimental as well. So,
You're wielding it in the right way.
exactly, navigating those waters and picking that up can be very, like I said, not for the weak.
Right.
Not for
Well, I want to kind of circle to your book though.
yes,
So I'm gonna
yes.
show your book. This is your book.
Thank you.
And I want to circle back to it. This is kind of a good time because what you've gone through in your life's path, right? Of
Right,
like understanding this book is really focused on the anger and
right,
different things that you kind of had to unpack in
right.
your heart. And now you look at, I've got a family of 7.
Right.
And so I guess
Prune, right.
prune
Yes,
off of you.
right,
Yes,
yeah.
he had to cut. That was
Oh,
like cutting.
yes.
This is a book of cutting.
Right.
This is a painful journey,
Not
but
right.
this is the book of cutting. This is that pruning process that you needed to go through because God knew on the other side of that, you're going to have this family of 7 and you're going to be in charge of, right? All these
Right,
different ages from 2 to 21
right, right,
and all of the boys and girls,
right.
right? A big family, a wife, a life. And so he's going to need you to be so adaptable. And if this had not happened to you, if God had not pruned you, right, you would not be can you imagine what your family's legacy of like all of that
Right.
would have been?
No, no.
So he's like, before you get to have all of this, I need to do all of this work. And so you chose to put those into poetry.
Right. So to your point, once again, so many powerful things stated. I really encourage people to write things down, because there's power in the pen, as they say. And I think we go through life, see people do it all the time. They're just not present, and like our lives are comprised of these micro moments. And if you really look back, and hindsight's always 2020, we always see God after the fact. However, if we live more present in the moment, then those opportunities, those peoples, those everything that he has ordained to happen and set up, we can meet it. Now we're not perfect. We're still going to miss moments and times. However, if I'm not here right now, the gift is just being missed. And I'm looking forward to the next vacation. I'm looking forward to the next interview. I'm looking forward to the next, to the next, to the next. Well, like, what about now? And I feel that that is the world's issue because anxiety and depression live in the future and the past. And I tell my kids all the time, and anybody I meet, just excel at the controllables. Excel at the controllables. What you can't control, just be excellent at that. And that's why God handles the rest. Because if I'm so focused on the future, my anxiety is going to go through the roof because it's so unknown. And then if I'm so beat up as you struggle with the criticisms and everything of the past of all the things that you've done, then the depression and all the other down and can't get out of bed, then that's just going to eat you alive as well. So it's like balancing that out. And that's what I feel with my book. I really want people to understand the emotional and spiritual intelligence. I think that is a very, very not talked about aspect of our human makeup that people just kind of gloss over. Everybody wants to work out, eat right, all the things, which totally understood. But what are you feeding that mental, spiritual, and emotional aspect? Because we are emotional creatures and we make emotional decisions, whether it's buying a house, a car, who you marry, they're all emotion based. So if you don't understand the root of that emotion, then we all have traumas and no one is
void.
You're right, you're right. Like
Void.
right.
So emotion is energy in motion. That's what it is.
That's good.
Yeah, it's
That's good.
energy in motion. And so, I guess we could share this, but like we know each other from work. So yeah, so we're both therapists, and then we kind of like life had us cross paths, which is I do want to share this because I want to kind of bookmark it. But what was beautiful about that was when you met me, you were actually seeking for someone to invest. So interesting.
Right.
Because that has been something that even though we're no longer kind of working to get what we do sometimes, but not necessarily as far as like in my practice. What's really interesting is there's still this investment, right? Like you're still in my life and all of that. And I'm like, okay, so Lord answered that prayer.
Right. No,
but like in an unlikely way. So it's just really interesting is how God he does that. He hears our prayers. He hears those things. It sometimes shows up in different packages than what we expected. But it's beautiful. So I'm glad that you're here and that we're still doing this life together. And but within that topic is you're working with the body, there is all of this stored energy. And what are we spending time using the energy for? If we are, like as you said, you put the power of the pen, you put it out because you understand that if it's packed in the body, it's just cycling in there. And so we're this constant conduit of this emotion. How do we expect to be purposeful? There is an unpacking that has to happen. It can happen through the power of the pen. It can happen to go through, like physical body work. It can happen through a lot of different areas, but it has to come out is the point. Yeah. The point is it has to exit. And we hope it doesn't exit in the wrong way. But truthfully, if people we don't face ourselves, if we don't look in the mirror, and we're not able to reflect on our own self, then it's going to come out in another way. And unfortunately, that impact might be something that we can't erase.
No, you're not wrong. And to me, it's very sad when I meet people, and I guess sad is not the right word. It's just different. Some people are potted plants, right? They're completely content with being a potted plant. This is my area. Don't really want to grow too much. Want to keep everything trimmed inside the pot. Okay, I understand. Then you have people that want to be trees. Okay, well, this is my tree. I manicure my tree. I keep it. I prune it. I do it. This is my tree. I have good fruit. I'm okay. And then you have people like us who want to be like national forest, right? Like,
or a bee.
Or
a bee. Can I be a bee?
Right.
I was a pollinate.
Exactly. And I think that's another challenge is dealing with people and meeting them, because I rage so violently against mediocrity. And I think our world is stuck in that, and that's where I need more grace and mercy from God, because when someone has that victim mediocre mindset, it's like we're speaking two different languages. And it's hard for me to meet you in the mud when you've created this environment for yourself and you've made these choices continuously. It's like I struggle with that still. So
yeah, it's interesting. I always say that like God was. This is what I'm gonna say to you. This is my first message to you. I remember one day I was driving. It's such a pivotal moment in my life,
right?
And I was like upset at somebody, because they weren't treating me with the respect that I know I deserve and all of that. But I was like, I'm done, here. And I'm driving, and all of a sudden I heard the Lord. It was like stillness. And the Lord said, you are expecting someone to show you unconditional love. and they don't even know what that is.
That's a mic drop right there.
There was a mic drop. That's how the Lord does me. Dirty.
Yeah,
He was like,
because
because he was like, but you do. And after the pause, it was like, you do. And I don't care if they don't see it. You're going to give them that example. And so the world will tell you, they don't deserve you. They don't do this. They don't deserve this.
Yeah.
But the Lord was like, that's right, because they don't really know what that is. But you have a relationship with me and you're my daughter.
Right.
And I need you to show them what that looks like.
Right.
Turn off that social media, because that social media is going to tell you, oh, that's a trauma. That's this, that's that. And I'm very passionate about, no, actually, compassion is the number one quality of Christ. Did you not understand?
Yeah, right. You're not wrong.
And we want to be given grace.
Right.
And I think there's a level of that. Like for me, there are that I've just kind of just picked up my suitcase and kind of just walked off for a little bit, right?
No question, right.
And then there are other people where the Lord was like, not this one. This one really, really needs compassion.
Right. Yeah.
And they need to see an example of unconditional love. And I'm asking you to do this for them. So I think it's just the learning of that within our walk in life. But yeah, people. Oh, I get on a rabbit trail on that.
No.
That's my big
For sure.
Is because in the social media space, it really is about. Well, I would say like 2 years ago, everybody was a narcissist.
Oh yeah, right.
And then the next year, it was everybody was a bipolar, or it was vice versa. Maybe. Vice versa.
There's a highlight.
Now it's everybody's trauma. Everything is trauma. You're kind to someone, that's trauma.
Right.
You're empathetic. It's trauma. I mean, no, you cannot do anything now without being a traumatized person. You are kind, you show compassion, and it's coming against some of the qualities of Christ.
Oh, without question.
Yeah.
Without question.
So it's just really interesting to me how Satan is really in the atmosphere of all of that, right? And so cunning about that. So I think, like I said, you have to have enough keen wisdom. Wisdom is a spirit. Asking God in the wisdom is spirit is, how do you want me to deal with this person? Because there are, like I said, some people you're going to pick up and you're just going to say, it's okay. This is a type.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. No
question. Draining. And then there are people that you need to put that seed in, right? You've got to put that work in. And that's got to put down our pride and ego and close off those ears to other people, because you are on a mission to show them God's grace.
Right.
Or compassion. And grace is when they don't deserve it.
That's true. No, you're not wrong. And I think that discernment spirit and then that wisdom of timing is something that you have to be in tune with, right? Because like you so eloquently stated, some people will drain you, right? And that's the enemy too. So you have to know when to hold or when to fold, because I tell my people I talk to all the time, you subscribe to your tribe, so the people that like, I never understood the quote, it gets lonely at the top, or the other quote that you die the hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Because when you live enough life and you are ambitious and you want to be the bee that pollinates and gets around, you realize that everybody doesn't want this. And you kind of come to that crossroads where, like, why would you not want this? Like,
you don't want to prosper, I don't understand.
Right. Like, you don't, there are no fruits of your labor. There's no evidence of your life and all these things. And it's like, it can burden you, right? Like, you really start to get disappointed and hurt. And you can take a lot of things personal because you just care that much. And you're it's like you're like a fire hydrant. You put all these things aside. You're like, I just want to get it out to and it's not.
Not everybody wants to pick it up.
Not everybody
and
wants
that's
to
okay
pick it
too.
up. Right. But for me, that's another struggle, because it's
Learning.
like, why? You know what I mean? And I realized I just have to let those people be, because to sow a seed on unfertile soil, it's a challenge. And
not everybody has had your structure, right? So like you took a look at your life structure, like from a young age,
right?
Being very disciplined,
right.
I mean, not everybody's been to the Air Force Academy.
That's fair, right?
So you have this structure. So this lack of discipline, like it's so complex, and that's where the discernment comes in, and that's where we have to be disciplined to seek the Lord's will,
right?
And that relationship, and how do you want that structured,
right?
And then, yes, I think it can be lonely, but I've been really praying a lot about, like, God bringing people into my life that I can pour into.
Right.
Because that brings me a lot of great joy, but also that are also those people that have the bigger, right? Like they have big vision and they're living out their best life. And I'm moving into that space. And I said I cry a lot, but a lot of joy lately. A lot of joy because it's awesome to see those things happening. Yeah. In unexpected ways.
I agree. And I think it just goes to like, people don't realize the amount of preparation that God, with all these journeys and like adversities that come upon us, they're purposed, and like, I think about David and one of the greats, and boy, did he have some drama, you know what I mean? He has some drama. Ooh, man. So I know there's hope for all of us because David, a man after God's own heart, did some shady stuff, as they say. However, before he defeated Goliath, I don't know if people realize he killed a lion and a bear. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like he just went straight to Goliath.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, and I think about that just in our conversation about people and like God putting them in your life, and that you have to be seasoned. You have to be like ready. You have to be armored up. Like, you have to be deeply rooted in who you are with your identity in Christ to be able to go.
Not the world's version of our identity. Amen.
So
but God's version of who you are.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And if you don't have that, you're going to get eaten alive. And I think a lot of people, they get on fire for God, just got saved, or so go out and evangelize and do all these things. And it's like, but you didn't even make your bed today. Let's start there, right? Let's start with the things that we need to get disciplined and orderly. And I'm an avid reader, and as you are as well. Yeah. And in one of the books I was reading, the guy was like, people think he's super organized and, like, man, you keep everything in a place. And he's like, he's just habit stacked, right? So like, after I brush my teeth, I'm going to make my bed.
Micro habits.
Right. And then after I make my bed, I'm going to put my clothes away. So then after he gets off the couch watching a movie, he folds the blanket and put it back. And it's just those micro molded things right there make his entire life seem so put together. But the reality is just consistency and discipline.
Yeah.
Right. There's no secret. Like, oh man, just Carrie's amazing. She does all these things. You have any idea the type of time management Carrie has to have to be able to do all of these things? Like, and that's where I do my best, to your point, to uplift others too, because the limelight and the fame and all the things are not what people think. Like, it's great to an extent. And I feel like you and I have had a taste of it, to where when you get to a certain level of notoriety, you can't go anywhere. Like, if you want to go get a bite to eat at a place where people know who you are, you can't eat.
Yeah.
Can you? And it's like,
I know people are like, do you like living so far away? I said, I don't like to drive, but I like that I'm not in town. Is that not nice?
No, but see, that's the thing.
But like, sometimes it's nice to being able to just, like, when I travel, it's like nobody will know anything about me.
Exactly.
And not that I'm not even close to that, no, but because I've worked in the area and as a business owner for 22 years and all of that, there's definitely a level, like, I'm sure, but I like what you were just saying. It's nice to have that balance,
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I think a lot of believers get confused because God never called us to be nice. He called us to be kind.
Correct.
Right? So that kindness, to your point, is when you ask the person at Walmart how their day is, and you actually listen to how their day is.
Mm-hmm.
And then hey, can I pray for you? And then you take, that's kindness.
Yeah.
Nice is just, hey, good to see you. So I just keep on moving.
Niceness is kind of people pleasing too.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so it's like, being nice is not really godlike, because God is intentional. Exactly. He is a servant leader. He's a transformational leader. He is in it with you. And I think if more believers were kind, versus nice, because niceness is selfish. I'm going to be nice to you because I'm going to get something out of this. That's why I'm nice to you. Exactly.
Yeah. And it's not about a transaction, right? It's about sacrifice.
Exactly. Right. And what he did for us, we cannot repay.
Right.
Like, I'm not dying on the cross for nobody. I love you. There's no way I'm getting beat to where my flesh is hanging off my bone. Like, you would do what, God? Just take me now, because I'm as strong as I am. Now, I will die for my family. Like, I will die. But the torture. Like,
the torture, he went through.
My heart just breaks for it when you just, the amount, like the whips and the glass and just,
Well, and even his pleading, like in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was like, God, take this from me. Like he still didn't want to do that, but he knew that was part of his life's journey, is to continue to sacrifice. And I think we live in a world where everything is, people are like, well, love is a transaction. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Marriage is a transaction. No, it's not.
Right. Exactly.
It's a sacrifice. Yeah, it's a sacrifice. And so you have to cleave to people, and you may have a smaller tribe, but people who understand that love is sacrificial, and it's an important quality.
No, I agree. And I just, your point about that, like, even on my worst day working out, like just sweating profusely, I've never sweated blood. You know what I mean? Like I can't even imagine like what Jesus was going through when blood is coming out of here. You know, and like that's a lot. That's a lot. And working out in Texas heat, you're gonna sweat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But not like that. Not like that.
Not like that.
Not that like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Christ gave us a real example of that. And an encounter not long ago. And it was just a really beautiful example of that, because I said, what does this person need? I didn't say, what do I want to do for this person? What do I think this person is worth? I just said, what does this person need? And the Lord spoke to me very clear. They need to know that love is not a transaction. That's it. Don't sell them Jesus.
Right.
Just be it.
Yeah.
Just be it. And make sure there are no strings attached, because that is what love is. It is to not expect everything. That's what it really is. And it was such a beautiful moment. And I was like, wow, you let me do that. Like,
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the fact that you prayed, that is.
Well,
Like, I don't know if I'm there yet. Help me, Lord. I mean, I want to help this person, but I mean, that's powerful, man.
It was a very powerful moment. And it was interesting because it came after like the most incredible accolades of my life.
Right.
And then it was literally this moment with basically a street worker, a sex worker on the street. And God was like, I'm going to have you in a penthouse. I'm going to have you in all this stuff. And I was like, wow, it was like in the physical world, right?
Oh, yeah.
Things on the
you're
top.
winning.
You're winning.
Right,
You're the baller. You're the And then all of a sudden it was like, boom, here's a moment.
Wow.
And are you going to be so caught up in everything, all of this stuff, or are you still going to serve me? And I thought, ooh, I'm going to serve you. That's right. That's okay. I know where the fruits are. I know where the wins are. But it was so interesting when I reflected back on it.
Yeah.
And I felt like that's the reason why I was given. So I also got, that's the reason why. So I know I'm not giving you the full story, but but basically they were like, we were working on a very prominent TV show, and there were about 40 people, but it ended up being to where like they kept using just me. And so several people didn't even get to go on the set. They didn't get to go see who was there and all of that. And then there were all these incredible moments. It was just the build up, people in my face, people just taking photos of me. I was like,
dopamine overdose.
Yeah, it was, they were custom dyeing clothes for me. I was like, how is this my life? And then I was so tired. I was like, it would give you a penthouse. I was like, penthouse, it's just all of this stuff. And then in that moment when I was sitting with this young lady, it was just like, this is why you used me, because out of all of those people, and I don't know their hearts
for sure, right.
But God knew I would obey.
Right.
Okay. And he's looking for obedient people. That's all he cares about. And it reminded me of the scripture, like how many of those other people would have been caught up in all of that. And it was lovely. But I realized it was for this moment, not for all of that. All of that was for this moment. That was for the moment. Yeah. And we have to not miss the moment. Now, I'm grateful that I did that. Will I do that every single time? I don't know. But it created a core memory, and I had so much gratitude that through my life's journey, right? Like he cultivates us, that he had grown me to such a place of like honor. Like I'm so honored that you would allow me to work for you, right? To serve you. And
so I have a challenge question for you.
Oh, sure.
Did you write it down?
I didn't write it down. It's a beautiful story. The whole story is a beautiful story.
Right.
But
this is part of your legacy, right? And I challenge, I have a few men's groups that I attend, and I challenge the group, like, if we don't do it on the daily, right? Because that's a big task to just write down everything you're grateful for. Even if you have a gratitude journal, like, it has to become part of your habits to be in that lane.
Okay.
However, how about we just make it practical and just do your birthday? Every birthday, you pick something to write down that you're grateful for, that God's done, you know?
Yeah,
You take all of those birthdays and you put it into a memoir or something and you pass it to your children as a legacy, right? And like right now, I'm doing it with quotes because I'm a quoter and a poet. So I'm just putting quotes that I find or that the God puts in my heart, and I'm just annotating them in my notes. Then I'm going to put that in something, and then I'm going to give it to my kids or give it to the world, right? Or whatever the case may be. And I think that's the other shortfall of believers is that
we're not putting it down.
You were an orchestrative person in this woman's life in that moment.
And that, well, God was. He just used
you know what I mean, right? But
yes.
However,
he used me. Yes.
As much as you were prepared for that moment, He ordained said lady to be there in that moment as well.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? Because sometimes we always get caught up in, well, God's cultivating us, but you have no idea the seeds or the watering or whatever you did for her because you were just obedient. But that moment was just as divine for her. But if neither one of you annotate it,
it doesn't happen.
Right. And, well, it does. Yeah. It does. But you know what I mean? Like,
well, right. Like, you don't get to be a part of it.
You get to be a part of it. Right? Yeah. And that's such a beautiful, and I'm sure there's so much more to it. However, and then to your point, you as a creative, right? And to myself, these are how great movies are made. These are how sitcoms and all other things are created because you have it now. You know what I mean? And your network is so vast. If you just share a story with someone, that person shares it with someone else, and the next thing you know, Spielberg, Scorsese, whoever.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? Tyler Perry. We're making a movie. This is a great story.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not. I'm
no,
just.
No. I know.
But
what you're kind of just saying is just we need to leave the mark. We can't just carry it with us in our thoughts.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. There's power in the pen, as you said.
Right.
So looking at your life, what I really like about it is that God gave you a structure and then He refined that structure.
Yes,
but then He allowed, now I'm going to say this, He allowed that wound to come in, right? Like what you saw.
Yes.
Because He wanted to root out any anger. He wanted to root it out.
Right.
Because He was going to refine you to bless all of your family, which they would need the very best of you. And they couldn't have that fruit if the pruning hadn't happened through all of that. So looking from the outside, it's easy probably for me to see that. Looking at your life story, a little less easy to live it, but it's really beautiful to hear that. You know, if you could put a word to describe like what things you felt like were cut off of you in your lifetime, like what do you feel like the Lord kind of cut off? Did He cut off pride? Did He cut off arrogance? Did He cut off materialism? Like what do you think He cut away from you, and then what do you think He bloomed from that?
Man,
that's a good question.
That's very good. I'm have to write that one down myself and utilize that one. You know, I think not to be cliche.
Okay.
Pride for sure. Because I mean, pride is just tied to so many things, man. Like it's kind of like love, and no offense to the 5 love languages, right? If you're a basic human and that's the only thing you can grasp, then okay, that's your structure. But love is such a deep, multifaceted vortex of so many different things. It's just, it hurts me to put it into 5 languages.
Oh, right.
You know, it's just so much. However, that is a baseline for those that have to your point, no understanding of it, right? So same thing with pride, right? There's, lust, greed, narcissism, like so many things are rooted in pride. You know, you just throw pride around. Oh, they're prideful. But what's the root of that pride?
Yeah. So what would you say He cut away?
With the pride, I guess probably the point of not big enough.
Okay, right.
Like that.
Earning.
Yeah. That Antoine's gotta be this. Like I gotta be better. I gotta just keep, and and once again, there's a balance to that, right? Because I don't want to be complacent. However, I was so extreme with just my relationships, my work ethic, my checking off my list. Like, I got to get my list done. Rain, sleet, hell, or snow, my list has to get done for me to feel good about the day. And I was so tunnel vision on that, I was missing these micro moments with people, and I feel like during that time in my life, I was probably turning a lot of people away from God because I was so extreme. Like, well, if you don't do this, this, and this, and how do you love Jesus? And you're not reading this book, and you're not, watching this podcast and all the things. It's like, well, everyone's walk is different. Like, we're all fearfully, wonderfully made. And I had no understanding or compassion for others on their walk.
Right. So lack of grace.
Very much so.
Yeah, very much like that. And lack of compassion.
Yeah.
Too.
It was.
Or understanding.
Exactly. Like, I didn't want to understand. Just no.
Well, in essence, you were saying it's all about you in essence of, like, if you can't do these, right?
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z, that's on you. Right. Yeah. Instead of, our confidence comes in who Christ says we are.
Exactly. That part.
Yeah.
So, which is a huge part.
Not in our
works.
output.
Yeah.
Exactly. Not in our works. Right?
Exactly. And I think that is the biggest pruning of the situation for me, because and then a lot of it, not that I want to give credit to the environment, like you said, like the traumas, everybody uses that. Environment does play a role, and being in a very structured, militant environment where get it done, get it done, get it done, it just helped fuel that piece of me that needed to be cut off. And it's just interesting how God works, right? Like, here I am, do, and then I'm in an environment of do. However, he's like, well, you gotta be like this. So it's like when he challenges you and puts these adversities, it's normally you're doing something, you're in a place to where the world is amplifying the thing that God wants you to lay down.
Yeah.
And I think that's challenging for anyone, because it's like, okay, God, you want me to minister to people, or I'm a recovering sobriety or drug person, and then you put me in an AA group to mentor someone. It's like, but I just got over X, Y, and Z. Now you want me to be around these people and help them get out of the same thing that I struggled with and meet them at bar X, Y, and Z to bring them home. And, it's like.
Yeah, that's a sacrifice of service.
Right. Exactly. And that's a lot of people don't want to do that. So your second question about blossoming.
Yeah. Blooming. Yeah.
Or blooming. Right. I think what has bloomed is just gratitude. Like being grateful, because in one of my groups, it's an older group, right? So a lot of like granddads, just a lot of wisdom, and I'm one of the younger guys in the group. And one dude was like, he's like, Antoine, you're upset that you played in the NBA that most people will never, ever get to. And now you want to go back and you're acting like you're not this elite person who did something that 99% of the world will never, ever accomplish. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like,
you did have it, just not the length that you wanted.
Right. And it's like,
so don't forget you had it, is what he's trying
that part.
to say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of things in life right now. It doesn't negate that he put this gift in me. He's preserved me. He's renewed my youth like the eagles, that I'm supposed to stop striving for it. However, with the right posturing, right? Because when we enter into his gates, it's praise, it's gratitude, it's thankfulness. Like, we have to be postured correctly. And that, to me, is one of the greatest gifts through this whole journey that I can take and just give to others, is that I might not be where I want to be in my flesh, but that doesn't stop the blooming from the spiritual aspect of what I have gained. As the cliche, right? It's not the destination, it's the journey. And as cliche as it sounds,
there's a lot to that.
There's a lot to that. Because once again, just like you experience present day, these micro moments of getting to the penthouse and all the things led you to another divine moment.
A divine appointment.
And that's where we can miss a lot of it, right? And to your point, right? Who knows how many we have missed? However,
oh, yes. Or we refused. Oh, gosh. I don't want to get on this.
Yeah, right. No, exactly.
But like, there have been times where I had so many excuses why I wouldn't do that.
Right.
In my earlier days. It's when I did some missionary stuff. And in the earlier days, I was like, you want me to do what? Oh my gosh, what are they going to think? I had all of these things. And I look at now how he's built up my boldness, and it only happened because other people were bold enough to show me in that moment. And I was like, man, how many people have I cheated?
Right.
Because I wasn't willing to boldly do what you asked me to do.
No.
I cheated everybody else. And I mean, that was my repentant heart.
Right.
I was like, how many people have I not? Because I was in my own way. Yeah.
Yeah,
So he had to grow me.
Yeah.
He's had to grow me and prune me for sure.
Right. And the sad, not the sad part, I guess the beauty of that is that this is a life journey, right? We're still failing forward every day with his grace and mercies, and thank God they're new every day. And I think that ability to accept and receive as believers is something else that it's just hard for us to fathom, because to your point, the flesh in the world, everything is earned, not given. You reap what you sow. Or are you putting in the time? Are you putting in the effort? But his grace and his salvation are free. Like, we can't get more salvation. We can't get more love. I can ask him to add more gifts from his fruits to my life. For my salvation and his love for me, he loves me just as much as the pedophile person that has life in prison.
Of course.
And that's hard for us to fathom.
Of course. Yeah. His heart grieves for that person, because he knows all they could be as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. But he understands their why, and I don't want to go into the whole
Yeah,
of that.
yeah,
But
for sure.
there's a lot to that.
Exactly.
As much as he's understood me, I can understand that when I see other people, he's like, there's a reason why they have that lens on, right? There's a reason why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
And as a Christian, I can always say, I don't understand that,
Right.
but I know they came to that posture for a reason.
Exactly.
And that's that grace, right? That's that I don't have full wisdom, but I see that and so then the question becomes, like I said, what do you think they need? And how can I supply that?
There you go. That's powerful.
Yeah.
And I think to that point, it's capacity, right?
Yes.
We're not Jesus.
Right.
So our capacity, we only have so much bandwidth.
Right.
We only have 24 hours in a day.
Right.
So how are we allocating that time? We can't help everyone.
Right. But we're not supposed to.
Agreed.
But that's who we need to.
Young believers and people, they think that they can do it for everything. And it's like, we have a sphere of influence, and we all have our gifts and talents that he's given us. And I think being in the moment and working our network of people is how we grow the kingdom, how we heal hurting people. Not necessarily Antoine being it for everybody, but me being consistent and graceful and merciful and loving to those I come into contact with, so they can get a piece of that and take it into their circle.
Yeah.
And, I think that feeling of burnout and like, I'm tired, and the weariness comes from thinking
that we have to do it all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
well, thank you so much for your time.
No, Carrie.
I've loved this. This is so special.
It is. It is. You're a great human. And I'm glad you're operating in your gifts and being obedient, man. It's just, it's an encouragement to me as well. So,
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening, and we'll look forward to sharing this with the world.
yes, indeed.
Bye.